side, please.
Thanks very much, Chris. Good morning, Thomas.
Morning, Jamie.
I know obviously on the first day of the season you beat Arsenal, but how much did last weekend prove to the players that you belong in this division? Because it's fine you telling them that they do, but results and performances like that, confirm it to them, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. That was a confident boost. But I think the most, promising is that we've been very consistent in our performances. So that was the 6th performance in a row where we performed well in terms of competed on and off the ball, good work ethic, pressed forward, all that. And we did it against, the top of the league, Liverpool. And just to put it in perspective, our performance, you could see what they did to Porto in the Champions League. As far as I know, Porto is not a bad side. So of course, let's give us something, but it's always the next game. We need to perform again on Saturday, and hopefully to get something out of the game.
On Monday night, Jamie Carragher and Thierry Henry were both full of praise for the way Brentford have played all season. I think Jamie Carragher said, "You're a breath of fresh air. You've been outstanding." Do you listen to stuff like that, or do you block that out?
I think all people like to be acknowledged and like a little bit of praise. So I think when people are saying that, I don't think they're telling the truth. So of course it's nice to hear the praise. But again, I'm always a little bit, worried. We played 6 games. It's a long season. We need to continue working hard and performing. But we've done it so far well, but we need to continue.
Because the balancing act is that praise doesn't go to people's heads, right? But
yeah,
I look at the Brentford team and it strikes me as a group of players that wouldn't let it go to their heads.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think for me, the indicator is always the next training, for example. It's not if they're coming in smiling and a little bit more joking. We need that energy, but it's what we do out there. If they train with 100% commitment, work hard, the numbers are good, top attitude, and it's been a really good training week. So that's the indicator I'm always looking at.
In terms of your opponents on Sunday, how much are they a sort of blueprint for what can be achieved in the Premier League by establishing yourself in the division? Adding in a couple of players, and suddenly they're playing in Europe and winning. I'm sure you watched them last night.
Yeah, I watched them last night. And first, I want to praise the club, of course, West Ham, but also I think David Moyes. Of course, I haven't read everything that's been written about him the recent years, but it just shows, with his coaching staff, of course, and staff around him, what a great coach he is. And I'm really pleased with him. When you have one of these coaches that's been in the game, he's soon to pass the fantastic mark of 1,000 games. He did an unbelievable job in Everton, did a fantastic job in Preston, and suddenly, because maybe it didn't work out that well in United, and in recent years, it's maybe not that easy to take over after Sir Alex, and then suddenly, it seems like he was not recognized as a proper coach. And what he's done in West Ham is fantastic. He's taken them to the second best position. The way they play, they have solid players in all positions. They got into top 6 ahead of, I think it was, now I can't remember if it was Tottenham and Arsenal. No, I think it was. Both of them, which is remarkable, honestly. And they just continued this year, and they have 6 points in the Europa League. So I think it's a remarkable job, and I think he deserves so much praise.
And also in terms of the way that he's developed players. I mean, Mikel Antonio is now a recognised centre forward, having started at right back. Yeah,
agree. I think that's another very good example. I think we faced them in a friendly. I just told to Antonio after the pitch, he's such a handful. I said, you're going to score +20 this season, and if he's avoiding injuries 100%, he's a handful. Very, very difficult, and he's a little bit like Lukaku in terms of the power and the speed, but also a very good finisher. So I think he's a very interesting player. I think they're balancing their team so well with Rice and Suchek in the middle, and then the front forward Fornals, Benrahma, Antonio, and Bowen are all 4 players with individual qualities. So they're such a threat when they go forward.
I've got one final question for you, Thomas. It's a bit of a random question, and I know you weren't prepared for it. But James Bond was released in the cinemas yesterday. Daniel Craig's last James Bond movie. Who is the Brentford player who could replace him as James Bond? Who's the closest you've got to James Bond in your squad?
That's a good question. If you want one with a little bit of swagger and confidence, it needs to be Ivan Toney.
Ivan Toney, it's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And who's the closest to a Bond villain you've got?
To a Bond what?
A Bond villain.
What's that? I don't understand that.
The baddie in James.
The baddie. Okay. That's a very good question. If he's such a nice bloke, but he needs to be Pontus Jansson. That Ragnar Lothbrok from the Vikings look. So it needs to be him.
Yeah, I think that's a good shot. Thanks very much. Best of luck on Sunday.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome.
We'll have Vicky from PLP next, please.
Morning, Thomas. Good to see you.
Morning, Vicky. Good to see you.
I have to say, I've never seen a manager think as deeply as a question as about who would be the best Bond baddie in my squad. One thing I wanted to pick up on was the goal scoring being spread throughout the team. You've had 7 goal scorers now in the Premier League after that fabulous draw with Liverpool. How important is it that you have goals coming from everywhere and not just Ivan Toney?
I think that's very important. I think it's the most tricky thing in Premier League is to score goals. We all know that it's not easy, but it's easier to set a very defensive side up and defend well. But where does the goals come from? And you can play so well if you don't have anyone to put it over the line. So of course I'm pleased with that. We know Ivan is the go-to guy. We know Brian Mbeumo can score goals, but also need to come from different positions. So yeah, I'm pleased with that.
And in terms of the start, I mean, we all know how fabulous it's been. 6 games in the Premier League, just 1 defeat. How confident were you pre-season that it would be this good?
I always believe in my team and my players. So, of course, it's easy to say that, right? I was confident that we could compete at this level, but compete is one thing. We need to do it in 38 games and all that. So I'm pleased that it showed that we can. The big thing is, keep the energy and the performances up there constantly every single week. I think that's the biggest challenge.
And we talked a bit about Michail Antonio. You said he's a handful. How then do you go about trying to stop that handful?
No, I think it needs to be the team that try to stop him. We know when he's in his 1v1 situations with space around him, it's really difficult. And also when he gets contact to the players. But I think he shows different skill sets. So it's not only in the duels and running down the side in the channel, but I also think in the box he's finding good positions and finding them better and better. So it's a combination of closing down the resources into him, and then in a situation when he's on the ball, how we handle that.
And Syed Benrahma, obviously a player that you know well as well. It looks as though it's starting to come together for him at West Ham, scoring his 4th goal of the season yesterday.
Yeah, so pleased that he's doing well. He had a first, maybe in a more troubled season or whatever you would say it. It was not a bad season, but it was not through the roof season. I think it's natural. You're coming into a new club, a new manager. You need to find your feet. But I'm so pleased that he's in second seasons that he seems to be a regular starter. Always thought of his abilities on the ball were Premier League class, and he showed that his 1v1, his assists, and his goal scorings are at a very, very high level. So yeah, so pleased that he's doing well. Of course, I'm texting him once in a while, and we're having contact with each other. So I hope he's doing very well, except on Sunday, of course.
And just finally for me, it's clear what a difference the home fans make for you, but you're unbeaten away so far in the Premier League this season as well. How much does that please you?
I think it's, if you, no matter what kind of league you want to compete in, especially the Premier League, you need to be able to get points away from home as well. I am pleased that we looked very solid, and I'm convinced we will look very solid on Sunday as well. We know it'll be tricky with their front four, but that's how can I say, that's a good knowledge, and the confidence to know that we can go there and we know that we can perform.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Thomas. Best of luck for the weekend.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Phil Parry next, please. BBC London.
Morning, Thomas. How are you?
I'm very good, Phil. Thank you. Morning.
Just sticking with Said Benrahma. He's a pretty individual player, isn't he? He's got the sort of skills, the skill sets that he's got. What he brings to a game is, he's very unique to him, isn't it? Really, you talk about how do you stop Mikel Antonio? How do you stop Said?
Yeah, I think it's the same. I think we definitely need every single time he's on the ball in the last third, we need to double up on him because his 1v1 skills are so good. Not that he just go past you every single time, but he'll always be able to release a cross, which will be extremely dangerous as well. That's and of course around the box, we got the abilities to put it to the top corner as well. So we need to. He will definitely be one of them. We need to be aware of. But as I said, their front four are really good players in this league.
And making a comparison maybe between what you do and what David has done at West Ham United in regards to, say, recruitment, looking sort of outside the box, looking in divisions maybe below where they are. Said was one, Jared Bowen another, looking into Europe and maybe finding players. You mentioned Thomas Souček. Recruitment is such an important facet of building a squad, isn't it, for a first team coach to use?
Definitely. I think, and that's why I think it's I don't know how all the other clubs are structured. Of course, I can speak about us, and looking from the outside at West Ham, they've done a very, very good job in terms of that. I think there's three key things if you want to have a well-run club. I think you need to have a fantastic culture, and that takes time to build that with the right staff and the right players around it. And you can destroy it in 2 months, but that's very important. Then I think you need to have a defined style of play, how you wanna play, and from that style, or that is heavily linked with both culture, but especially recruitment. So what kind of types you want to recruit in the different positions, and that's where I think, yes, the head coach or the manager need to be very, very involved in that, because he needs to feel what kind of players you want to put on the pitch, but he needs to have a fantastic aligned group of people behind him. And in our cases, of course, Matthew is our 2 sports directors. We all know Rasmus and Phil, and is our head of recruitment, Lee Dykes, and all his fantastic staff members. And all that need to be gelled together and aligned in the way we want to do it. And that also takes time and conversation and talks, and so we can be as sharp as possible.
And every game in the Premier League obviously is going to be a very special game this season, especially for the fans, but obviously for you and your squad. Are London derbies still extra special, even though, playing Liverpool, Man United, Man City, they're special games as well, but is it still a bit different because it's a London derby?
I think it is, definitely, because the London derby, I think that's always special. But of course, if you rate Liverpool, I think that's a bigger club, so I think it's natural to speak about it. But for me, every game is a big game. I think it's the same for the players. I don't know enough about the story actually with Brentford and West Ham. But of course, if it was QPR Fulham, that's definitely maybe would have been even bigger because rivalry are bigger. But it's a massive Premier League game. It's a London derby, and we're very much looking forward to it.
And finally, for me, obviously, there's another international break after this, and you send your players off and keep your fingers crossed that they all come back fit, the ones that you send off. Ideally, to go into that with another positive result, this is the second sort of little mini section of the season. That would be perfect for you, wouldn't it, Thomas?
Yeah, of course, I'll prefer a win. Secondly, a draw on Sunday. Of course, a good performance and points on Sunday would be fantastic, and that's what we're going for.
Brilliant. Best of luck Sunday. See you there. Thank you for your
Thank
time
you.
this morning.
Right, so we're still under immediate embargo. Malik from the Evening Standard, please.
Yes, morning, Thomas. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Morning, Malik.
England's squad was announced yesterday. One of your old students, Ollie Watkins, is back in. What about Ivan Toney? Obviously, he's still got a question over who he's going to play for internationally, but can you see him by the end of the season being kind of hammering on Gareth Southgate's door if that's the way he chooses to go?
Yeah, if Ivan continued to perform as he's done so far, I think he will definitely be in the. I think he's always, already looking at him, Gareth. That I would expect that I think Gareth is has done a fantastic job as the England manager. The result he's made, talk for itself. So he's a very detailed man, and I'm convinced that he's looking at Ivan. And then it's that balance between who we already got in the squad, different types, and all that. But Ivan's performance, if you continue like this, he will be a player that will be in the run for a position in the squad.
He's worth taking just for his penalties, isn't he, to a tournament?
You want to be sure that one of them are scoring on a penalty. I'll pick Ivan Toney every single time.
Cheers, Thomas. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Welcome.